You can talk now, by the way.
You can hear me already?
I'm muting. Yeah, I'm probably echoing. Okay, bye.
So the stream can hear me or not?
Yes, indeed, the stream can hear you.
Awesome. Let's see. Anybody in the comments yet? If anyone in the comments could let me know if my audio is adequate. I think it should be fine, but just want to make sure. Alrighty, we are playing Scrabble. Noah has a 3-2 lead in this series over Sid, and they are playing first to win six. So this morning they could have anywhere from 3 to 6 games. Best of 11 series. Sid is repping the Phoenix Suns shirt, and they happen to have their 18-game beautiful winning streak snapped last night. So RIP to the Suns. And Sid drew a Q and a G, the first two tiles I saw. That is ugly. But he's going first, and looks like the only thing he can actually do is play QAT. He can play QI, but that just leaves a junk, and at least QAT leaves the ING synergy, which is just about the only time you even want to consider ever leaving the G if you have marginal decisions. So I think he's going to play cat pretty quick. And over on Noah's rack, he has good letters that don't bingo. He needs an E for isochyme, and as we can tell, Noah's not going to get that E. There might be a lag of some sort between my talking and the actual plays, so I'll just hope for the best. So Sid plays cat. In my opinion, he took way too long to make the play. He needs to save as much time for later, harder positions. Just play it and move on with your life. Sid played cat. And Noah doesn't have a whole lot of good plays. He can play Moki or that, and that's what he goes ahead and does. He plays him, which is pretty good, keeps the board nice and tight. Moki was a bit volatile. Sid is in a bit of a tough spot here. He has Ginzo forming HO. So I think that's what he's going to go with. There's no other plays. Unfortunately, slotting the Z there is not ideal because it's going to be easy for Noah to come back and score points there, but looks like he's not going to have any other options. Let's see if Quackle disagrees. So yeah, Ginzo is the only play. So if Sid sees that, I think he's going to play that. He's going to go ahead and play info. That seems fine to me. He's keeping the Z and not burning it for cheap and setting up his opponent. So nothing wrong with that play. I think you can go either way. You can take the points or take the lower variance route. All right, beautiful. That was my first time trying the score update thing myself. So I'm going to have to flip it, it looks like. Yeah. Good enough. So, given the lack of options, Noah's just going to reluctantly burn the S there. That's one of those 5-letter words that are pretty rarely seen because 5-letter words that have S's in them typically aren't very playable. Sid has a few options, pretty much none of which involve burning the Z. He can play Cove, which isn't great, but no matter what he does, he's going to kind of have a major downside to whatever he does. He could do something like Vogs and QATS, which would kind of clunk up the board, take that hook out. When you play something like Cove, you're kind of taking a pretty decent risk because, yeah, you'll probably draw a vowel, but it's not guaranteed, and not all the vowels necessarily give you a good play next turn with the Z. When the other letters are G and S, you're kind of hoping for an I. Sid has says lined up on his rack, and I think he might be considering playing that in the bottom right to clog things up there. But no matter what he does, he can't really close down the board all at once, of course, so he doesn't want to go overboard with trying to block, and playing something like says just simply is not worth it because it scores 32, but leaving GNOV is just risky business. So yeah, it looks like he is going to reluctantly play Cove. Sometimes the tiles dictate what you have to do. Sid hates playing things like that open up the board, but you can only do your best with the letters in front of you. So Kosi takes an R. So Noah is going to have an opportunity to play a few different words that'll score pretty well. He can play wary. He can play owlery. Owlery, he wouldn't do that though, because that would float the O there for no reason. So I think we're going to see Noah play wary. He's probably just making sure he doesn't miss anything better. But as Quackle is telling me, he is not missing anything. That's funny. Okay. Oh, okay. I completely was looking at only one spot. There's a H hook for, the W hook for him. Noah's going to go ahead and take that. I like that play a lot. Putting the O there isn't super high risk for that triple word score, and Scores very nicely. And Noah's 6-tile draw was with 3 eyes and an O, so that feels bad always. Sid did draw 1 vowel. That was the most likely scenario. He would just draw 1 when he turned over 3 tiles, so he at least has something to work with. Looks like he's probably just going to play ZAS for 45, take the points, hope for the best. That is what will happen. He could have played Dogma through the O and infos. That's a cute little play. But he elected to take the 10 more points. So despite the fact that Noah drew complete junk, he actually found a nice play. Goes ahead and plays Aioli. And Sid did not draw a vowel. So these guys are having the opposite problems right now. Not a great spot to be in. Okay, so Sid, I'm trying to keep up with everything at once. Updating the scores is kind of hard, actually. But yeah, Sid is able to play Tomb for a decent amount of points. Hopefully he can draw some vowels to balance. He drew 1. That's a good start. I keep on messing up this score thing. So this is the point of the game where when you're playing a closed board, you kind of are starting to suffocate the board and scoring spots are becoming more rare. So Noah has an easier decision, just dropping AAH for 28. Not a whole else lot to think about. Now, Sid has a pretty good play. He has Pengo to the O and Yowler. He has that lined up, and I think that's just a slam dunk. He's going to be playing that any second. And there it goes. So Noah's starting to get in a bit of a dire situation. If he can't bingo soon, he's going to be kind of screwed because there's going to be nowhere else to go, and this board is just going to be gone. But if Sid keeps drawing junk, he's going to have a chance. Sid can play Fond or Font for a decent amount of points, so. And Noah has picked up the blank, so very opportune time. Definitely was needed. Okay, yeah, it took me a second to figure it out. The place where Sid has a play is actually hooking the O and MIL, making Milo. So I think he actually just missed that. So he's going to go ahead and play Frond. And that's pretty surprising. Sid is pretty solid on his fours. Maybe he saw it and thought there was a reason not to play it, but Frond in that bottom right, hooking MIL for Milo would have been a really good play. Would have scored well and compressed the board. But seemingly he missed it, so he played Frond elsewhere. And Noah does not have a triple-triple through the F, but he does have one bingo that is better than the rest, and that would be ephedrine from the EPHEDRIN for 86. So let's see if he's able to find that one. It's a bit of a tough find. It's not super low probability or anything, but it's kind of tough to see because it starts with EPH. I haven't seen any comments yet. Can anyone in the comments just type something in there just so I can see the proof that it still exists? Oftentimes these racks, when you have really good letters, are the ones where you take the most time because there's so many different places to bingo through, and with the blank, it just takes a while to see all your options. Now we get our moment of truth. Is he going to find a ephedrine? All right, looks like not. He's going to make the blank a Y and play Pyrenoid, which is the second best bingo. So now we are off to the races again. It's a game. Sid was close to having him buried and done with, but Noah picked up that blank and said, I'm not going away just yet. Sid has a few options. I think his best play is probably Waver in the bottom left, leaving those things open up top. aren't that big a deal because they're kind of hard to hit. And there's not really any big hot spots. You can't really cash in the Y, X. Oh, okay. Actually, Sid has the X for a potential play like Onyx or Oryx through the Y, blank Y and Pyrenoid, but he's not going to be fishing for those by any means, so. But nonetheless, he knows Noah can't hit him hard, especially because he has the only letter that really would work with the Y there. So anyway, I think he should play Waiver in the bottom left. It takes out one of the lines, the Yowler line with the R and also the S hook. Scores pretty well. The E floating in the middle right is the juiciest 8 spot, but okay, so Sid is making a great play. I didn't get to consider that. He's setting up his X, so that may or may not be obvious to Noah, but that's a beautiful play by Sid. So now if Noah sniffs it out, Noah might block it, but I don't think he has the letters to allow it. DEEKLLR. So Noah pretty quickly plays Nidell, which is the only play you can make here, looking at the Quackle choices. By far and away the best play. And Sid is going to easily be able to cash out his beautiful X spot setup. That's one of those things that separates a lot of players, is the ability to see those setups and cash them out. Scrabble's a game where you have to think multiple turns ahead. And the beautiful way that worked out with Do is that was the best way he could balance his rack as well. He left EIRT, which isn't the greatest leave of all time, but certainly not the worst either. So now Noah's in a tough spot. He has good letters, but he doesn't have an S, doesn't have the unseen blank. And he needs to bingo. He's down 23 on a closed board with no scoring spots, so he's going to have to figure out a way to balance and keep the board from dying, because the only way out of this one is bingoing. Now, over looking at Sid's rack, he has Goiters or Goriest. So that S hook on LEI in the bottom right is the only actual place he can bingo. And obviously we can tell Noah can't block it. He's going to make the best play by far and away, be flag, which I didn't see. I'm trying not to look at the Quackle choices and cheat, but Sid is just going to bingo. But this thing's not over because this blank is out, and there's a lot of ways that Noah can still win because he gave himself the best chance to score. And let's see. So yeah, that's going to go down pretty quick. So Sid is up a bingo. And seeing as Noah did not draw the blank, it's pretty likely Sid is about to draw it right now. And that's going to pretty much be the game. So Noah, turning over 5 tiles, didn't get the blank. Unfortunate for him. And Sid, drew the S after playing DOUX, so that was just a good sequence for him. And wow, Sid, despite turning over 7 letters, missed the blank, so this is a very interesting spot. all the O's are gone, and it looks like, yeah, Noah has the last Y. So this G spot is interesting. Of course, Sid can block it in another way, but nonetheless, Noah is actually not in a horrible spot. From his perspective, there's 3 unseen U's, so Sid is going to have one of the junky racks that may kind of be handcuffed to not be able to do what he wants in order to stop Noah from bingoing. So Noah's down enough points right now to where he can't not score. Because if he wants to actually win, he has to bingo. But if he doesn't score points in the next turn or two, Sid is just going to widen the margin to a point where it won't even matter if you bingo. This is a very tough pre-endgame position. Noah's doing the good old bag check, see if his tracking is matching the actual count of tiles in the bag. One of the differences between playing live and online is you don't have the computer to do it for you. Stay there. Stay there. So for next turn, Sid has an interesting play. Uncute, I think, is good. So he's going to be able to just kind of play that. And it's going to be really hard for Noah to bingo because then his bingo would have to end in A or O, which is pretty unlikely even with a blank. Unless you have like just all the good letters, but this is a really tough spot for Noah. I'm going to expect him to use pretty much all his time here. The thing about uncute is that it would empty the bag, but depending on what Noah does, that might be okay. So because he did that, Sid is in a predicament. So he can't play uncute now because he has to block that G spot. And given the circumstance, even though it sucks leaving 2 U's, I think he has to just play cage and say, I'm going to take the 30 points and I'm not emptying the bag. Cage leaves 1 in the bag. But gives him that wide margin that he needs. And wow, okay, so as we can see, Noah played 2 tiles and drew the blank, so a bit of a dream scenario for him. Let's see if Quackle has any suggestions. So yeah, it's kind of a tough spot. Cage, sorry, leaves 2 in the bag. So I think you just kind of have to play that. puts him up 77. Now the pool is very good from Sid's perspective, but with the J in there, especially, it's going to be hard for him to hit something good. And even if he hits something like after Cage, it's still possible that Noah plays something like Judicare to the E in Cage, and he can even outrun that, possibly, but that would just be the worst case scenario. That's not too likely. There's one combination of Judicare in the pool. So very interesting draw, Noah's end. He drew the J and the blank, so the fact that he has Joinder doesn't matter because that doesn't play anywhere. But Sid is racking his brains because, given the unseen pool, he thinks that the odds that Noah bingos are really high. He just played 2 tiles. There's 2 spots to bingo. So Sid is just thinking, okay, Noah's bingoing. What's the best thing I can do to make sure I still win the game? And because Cage is the only thing that scores huge, he just has to take the points and run because... Now, given the exact rack Noah has, because he's not going to bingo this turn, there is some sort of scenario in which he draws that third U and then he's just screwed because he can't play anything when the bag is empty. Once Noah bingos, that is. So we'll see what happens here. It's definitely an uncomfortable spot to be in if you're Sid. So Sid does have uncute lined up on his rack, but I guarantee you he's thinking about, well, I'm emptying the bag, and if he bingoes out and I draw the J, good game. So he's probably not going to play that. Now he has to realize, okay, I mean, I'm not out of the woods no matter what I do. So there's going to be risk in any route he takes. Uncute might give him the best chance to just say, okay, no, I'm not giving you a chance to fish. If you bingo, you bingo, but it's actually pretty hard to bingo. Now, of course, if he just has like the perfect blank, like Taisei blank, Noah's just going to bingo, overlapping the G and Goriest. But a lot of the time, after playing uncute, it's pretty hard to bingo because you're limited to, as mentioned before, those bingos in the top left, ending in A or O. So it looks like he's going to play uncute, and in this case, it's going to pay off. So Noah's not going to be able to fish. OMG. So I forgot that was good with 2 R's. Noah can play Jared, Jerrid, for 75. And that's going to make this really interesting. Let's see, what did Sid draw? Okay, he drew an S, so that helps. So Sid's probably just going to win. If he had drawn that third U, he might have been in a bit of a predicament. But it looks like Sid is going to squeak this one out, even if Noah finds a 75-point non-bingo. So let's run this endgame through championship player, just in case. I'm pretty sure, but Does Noah have a win? Wow, okay. So it does win. That is unbelievable. This word is pretty rarely seen, so I just kind of whiffed it. And right now, Sid is just like, gulp, because that's just such a slap in the face. So Sid at this point doesn't realize that he doesn't have any wins, but as Quackle is showing me, he does not have any wins. So this is a pretty unbelievable comeback. Improbable. So Sid has 3 minutes, but he's quickly going to realize that he is not going to win. Noah has 1 tile. He can play the end for 5, for 8. Okay, I see 8. So yeah, Sid has Tats lined up on his rack. That's the best play of all the plays, but wow. See, I think that's, I mean, you're not supposed to be results oriented, but I think, you know, Cage is probably the best play, and if he happened to play it here, would have won. And you don't want to be results oriented when determining was that the best play, but it's hard not to in this one. But other than that, I think both players played really well this game. Frond might have been a mistake, but overall there was nothing too egregious. And Sid is out of time. He has less than 30 seconds on his clock now, so that is the game. Because he realized that even if there is some permutation that wins, he's out of time, so you lose 10 points every minute you go over. So even if he did have a win, he had and found it wouldn't matter because he's going to lose points. So he's going to play Tats, and that's the game. Noah has Hin for 8, and he's going to win by 1 point. It's kind of a heartbreaking loss for Sid. This is a tournament game, so I can't just tell them that I put the game in Quackle and confirm that Noah won by 1. For all I know, they have a tie, and they're not going to recount. They're just going to call it a tie. But on our end, we can see Noah had a 1-point victory. So they're going to recount it because that's just standard when a game is that close, usually less than 10 points. Tournament players recount to make sure that they didn't mess up any scores. Typically, one thing I do actually is that's one way I use my time when my opponent is taking a long time on a pre-endgame or endgame play. I sometimes, if I am out of things to look for, I'll start recounting because you don't want to be in a situation where you're trying to figure out an endgame and then you actually made the wrong decision because you had less points or your opponent had more points, yada yada. So it looks like that's something Josh will have to update, but once they finish this look over, Noah will have a 4-2 lead in the series. Stay there. For those just joining in, Noah and Sid are recounting their game, but as far as I know, Noah has won the game by 1 and will have a 4-2 series lead, which is not updated on the screen yet, but Josh will get to it when he is done his game. Alrighty, it looks like they have finally finished their recount, and presumably it's a 1-point win for Noah. Josh did go ahead and update the series score, so it's a 4-2 lead for Noah. And hopefully here soon we'll start the next game. I'm still waiting to get some intel on whether or not Josh won his game against Mac. Alrighty, Noah is going first to start this game. He has a 4-2 lead in the series. It's a best of 11, so the first to win 6 games. OOV is never a good start. Oh my god. Wow. There's only a few things I could have said as far as what tiles do I need to see after drawing OVO in order to bingo, and there's your answer, Ovoidal. That is it's actually a noun. So Voidal takes an S, I'm pretty sure. So that's uncanny. So first three letters Noah saw were OVO, and no problem, just bingo all day. And Sid draws a bingo himself. So Sid has engrave. Let's see if he has anything good. I'm done as far as just trying to think of plays and look smart. I'm just going to put it in Quackle. So Sid doesn't really have any good plays. He has Avenger or Engrave in a few spots for 66 or 67, but nonetheless, he'll be able to bounce right back and keep this close. Noah doesn't have any bingo letters, but he has good letters, so he's going to be able to do something next turn. Just depends on what Sid does here. There's no 8-letter words that play on the board, so he's kind of confined to either Engrave or Avenger. So once Sid lays down the bingo, Noah's going to be dumbfounded that he took 3 minutes to make this play because time is of the essence, and Sid deliberating for this long is just shooting yourself in the foot. There's really no need to think this hard about such a binary position. It's good to give your play some thought, but you don't want to overdo it and hurt yourself later in the game when you might need the time a lot more in the pre-end game or end game. Sid has already burned 3 minutes on this turn, and that is just a travesty. So this was a pick your poison kind of play. All of the placements for the bingos kind of blew the board wide open. So Sid is just going to take that one. So Noah has a few plays through the E. He can play Troked with or without the A. So Troked is a word, but it's also good with the OA. And it looks like that is what he's going to do. And Sid is overdrawn. So hopefully Noah doesn't get to take the S. But as Noah was laying down his play, Sid realized he overdrew, so they're just doing things in order. So when you overdraw by 1, your opponent gets to take 3 letters, flip them over, and they get to throw the one they deem worst or best, and depending on how you look at it, back in the bag. So Sid does get to keep the S, but unfortunately, he has junk. Now he almost has a bingo. Oh, he does. Oh wait, Okay. So Sid has use social to the L, but it's getting blocked. So that's kind of a heartbreaker for him. Use social is a word, and edacious if a D was open. So Sid's not going to get to bingo. So that's kind of a heartbreaker there for him. Barely is getting blocked. So now Sid doesn't really have much. He has no scoring plays and no fishing plays, so that's not where you want to be in Scrabble. He can play Kauri, Cauri, through the R in engraved, but we'll see what he ends up doing. These are one of the less fun positions in Scrabble when you have a bingo that would clear your whole rack and allow you to move on, but instead it gets blocked and you're stuck having to play something junky. And Noah has really good letters, so he's in a really good spot to just kind of cruise control to this win. A lot of Scrabble left to be played, but he has a 50-point lead and a bingo rack ensuing. Sid could play voice, which kind of opens up the board even more. It would be nice to get rid of the U, but there's not a perfect play here, of course, that accomplishes everything you want, which is to score and balance. So Sid's going to play short here. He wants to just kind of keep his S and some of this energy on his rack and hope for the best. If he can just draw a consonant, he'll have a decent chance of bingoing. So Noah can play Sleazo to the O in Ovoidal for 50, but he can also play Zeal and Zag for 39, which might be the best play because that leaves ERS, which is a dream leave in Scrabble. You can't really go wrong either way. Sleazo scores 11 more, but so yeah, he's going to go with this because that gives him a really good chance of bingoing next turn. Again, this turn, Sid needed a specific letter in order to bingo. He needed an R for Cossery, but there is no floating R, unfortunately for him. So yeah, fortunately for Sid, he's in a lot of trouble. Noah has infairs, and he's just going to bingo next turn, and he's going to be up a lot, so Sid has his work cut out for him this game. So Sid is going to go ahead and play Rue, kind of knowing that he's kind of just screwed here. And to no one's surprise, Noah's going to go ahead and play his bingo, and it's going to be a cruise control win for Noah at this point. Even if Sid draws a bingo right here, which he did not, he would need 2 more bingos to win, which is tough business. So Sid will quickly play QI and go for that bingo draw once again. He still did not hit it. He did pick up another S, but that doesn't really help with his specific rack. So Noah has a few different options. He can play EEW over Infairs, forming AE. I think the best play actually is WAE in the top left, forming We, AA, and EL, because any play you make alongside Infairs opens up another lane, and you don't really need to do that. So WAE is, I think, the best play. It just doesn't open up anything, scores the same. I think you just have to do that. Don't make it any easier for Sid to come back. Okay. I didn't see the 4E version of the play. Now, of course, that's fine as far as equity goes, but I still think you should have played the other one, just because you don't need to give Sid any backdoor odds to come back, and by opening up another lane, you're kind of helping him out. But it probably won't matter in this case since Noah's up so much. He's up literally 150 points, but just in general. Noah has drawn junk for the first time today. He drew a UW combo already to go along with his G. So Noah's not bingoing anytime soon. At this point, there's not a whole lot of things to mull over, so Sid is just quickly going to play case, take the points, and go with it. So Noah has A, G, J, U, T, W, X. What does that give him? Wax for 38. Opening up the triple triple. Rewax. I think rewax is probably the play through the RE over in Infairs, because that kind of takes out that new lane he created and the FEE hook. So Noah will eventually play that, I believe. Sid still doesn't have his bingo, so his odds are down in the 1% range at this point. Yeah, these last few plays, I don't really get it. I mean, of course, as I've already mentioned, what you do when you're up 150 is a little bit less important because you really can't lose. But at the same time, I mean, why play wax? Why open up a triple triple? Why create that? And when the other play of rewax just accomplishes a lot more. You give up a few points just to block things, and maybe he didn't see rewax, but I find that hard to believe. So Sid plays Bibe. That's his only good option this turn. Can Sid finally pull bingo? I don't know what he has yet, so we'll have to see. Noah has a pretty easy decision just to play Jow. And Sid still cannot draw bingo. So this game's over. Noah is all but won this one. Sid can play money for 44, hooking Ox for Oxo. Or he can play YOM for 5 less, which actually is probably better because it leaves EMNS, which gives him solid odds at bingoing. Noah drew junk, but his play of Jig and Gox is probably getting blocked. I think Sid is going to play one of those two mentioned plays. Looking ahead to next turn, Noah might consider playing TOGS in the top right. Oh no, ABO is not a word anymore, so I rescind my statement. ABO is not an offensive word, but it was dubbed offensive by people who don't understand things because it's short for Aborigine, which is in no way, shape, or form offensive to call somebody an Aborigine. So Sid is going to play money. Let's see if Noah has any options. Not really. He can play Agouti from the A and Avoidals for 8. Yeah, his options with this rack are pretty junk. And once again, Sid is not going to draw bingo, so he's gone about 0 for 100 this game after his first bingo. There are 2 blanks out, so that kind of throws a little twist into this plot, but probably not going to matter. All right, so with that play, Sid has cut the score to just under 100 points, but with Noah drawing the blank and the spots being pretty scarce, Sid is just not winning still. And as we can see, he picked up more junk, so he's not going to be able to get out of this one. It's just going to be a win for Noah. Even though Noah picked up the blank, his options are also junk. He might even exchange. He can play Guy for 11, but I don't know if he would do that. Probably doesn't matter a whole lot, but so this is interesting. So it looks like Noah exchanged. He left YS. So I didn't see that coming. The merit to that, of course, is just having the Y as a nice scoring tile. But if you're going to exchange, I figured you would throw that in just because, yeah, better to bingo. The Y kind of makes it harder to bingo, even with a blank. But in this case, Noah drew the second blank, so it doesn't really matter. So he has lanyards or sternly, or he could play siren for 38 and just leave one of the blanks while burning one. So we'll see what he elects to do. Sid again did not draw bingo, so Noah got all the blanks that he needed. So it's not going to work out for Sid this game. There's still a lot of tiles in the bag. Lanyards through the A and O voidals would hook Tog to form Toga. That's kind of a harder find. Where does Sternly play? Oh, F's in Sternly. So that's probably just the best play. It's kind of hard to bingo off that, of course. And it blocks the EW hook with the E, even though there's only one E left, actually, from Noah's perspective, but nonetheless. And wow, yeah, good point. Yeah, Siren and Togs would give Sid the miracle, but would give him a chance, but Noah would most likely just bingo back, leaving L blank. And the pool is junk, so if Sid bingos, he's drawing junk. And Sid needed some of those unseen blanks, so seeing Noah grab the blank slip is just unfortunate feeling. So Noah is going to play Sternly, and that's all she wrote, folks. And some of that aforementioned junk has gone right to Noah's rack. 2 U's and 2 I's. Although, he does have Eurepi, one of those rare 4 vowel 6s. E-U-R-I-P-I. It's the plural of Euripus, whatever those mean. So just for Flash, Noah's going to be able to play Eurepi and EWE next turn. If he sees it, of course. So that's an interesting play by Sid. You might be wondering why he would burn the I and not keep the O. Why he would burn the I instead of keeping it for ing words. Well, there's actually 3 unseen I's, and he has the last O, so his thinking is, all right, well, I just need to draw an I and hope for the best. And that I did not come, so Sid is not going to hit that miracle play there. He bingoed on his first rack, and the rest of the game, it was just junk city for him, so tough loss for Sid. But this series isn't over. Noah's going to be up 5-2. Sid can still win the next 4 games and come back to win it. Now, from Noah's perspective, he's going to see some ing combos. So he might elect to block and play something from the D like dupe, which I guess is really his only play. I would have whipped down Eurepi a long time ago just for Flash, but if it was a closer game, of course, I would have considered blocking. So yeah, after the series is over, the first to win 6. If Mac and Josh are still playing, we'll just flip to theirs and do the end of their series. But otherwise, once both of these series are over this morning, there'll be a break, and then they'll start again this afternoon. And to my pleasure, he does find Eurepi and play it, so that's exciting. HNNOPLT. And the bag is empty, so Noah has only 6 tiles on his rack. They should just kind of throw some things on the board at this point. So the final score 479 to 375, so 104 points. Sid gave it all he could, but just was not his game to win. Hopefully we get an update from the other series in a second. Looks like they have finished their round also. Thank you, Josh, for the update. So in the off chance that both Noah and Mac win this next game, then all of the series for the first series will be over, and they'll go to break early and presumably start in the afternoon earlier. But otherwise, should get a few more games here in this morning session. If Sid or Josh can win this game, which statistically is likely that at least one would win. So here we go. We're going to start this next game. Noah is drawing. Sorry, Noah's mixing. Sid is going first. Noah's just making sure that bag is thoroughly mixed. All right, Sid has one tile, and it's an E. It's a good one. And I see a blank. That's another good one. So Sid has an easy baby bingo rack. The odds of him bingoing this turn are 100%. He can go with Eeriest, Eremite, Retiree, whatever he so pleases. And this is very interesting. So Noah has a beautiful rack also, and I believe that the R, which is going to come down, will give him Gray's years. I think that's a word. So we will see. I'm going to go ahead and pencil in Sid for 64, just to be proactive, since he can't score anything else. So it's looking like this is going to be another bingo bango opening, just like last game, but we'll see if this game can be closer. So Sid is doing that thing again where he's thinking about what's the best bingo. And again, I mean, yeah, it's great to think about your plays, but he's using so much time. You really just need to be more efficient when it comes to managing your time. So he's going to go with Eremite. And luckily for Sid, that's not going to give Noah a huge play with Graziers. So let's see which placement he goes with that one. Okay. So bingo bango start again. We're off to the races. All right, so Sid picked up pretty good letters, but I don't think he has a bingo. But I do see scootage through the T. Scutage. I forgot, I'm not trying to be smart. Let's see what Quackle says. All right, yeah, so scootage is the only play. And it's actually kind of hard to see, so I'm not sure if he's going to actually find it, because you don't really see it played too much, but we'll see what he comes up with. That's by far and away the best option. Meanwhile, Noah has drawn UUG to go with AAHI, so he's not bingoing next turn. But it looks like we are in for a closed board. That is a prediction I am confident in making. Because of the placement of Graziers, that's pretty much saying sayonara to the top left of the board. Not going to see that used, most likely. So this is one of those situations where, because Sid has a play that's so far ahead of the other plays at an early juncture in the game, if he does end up losing this game, this is one of those objective things about Scrabble where if you miss Scootage for 40 as the non-bingo double-double and you lose the game, it doesn't matter if you've played every single turn subsequently perfectly, because everything that happens in the game, literally everything that happens after that point, is a product of that mistake. And I'm very hawkish on this thing because most Scrabble players don't think about it like that or don't want to think about it like that, but that's the reality of the game. If you make a huge blunder early, you've blown the game right then and there. There's no questions. That's just is what it is. It's objective. So for the sake of high-level Scrabble, I hope Sid finds Scootage. But at this point, I'm guessing he won't. So Sid is going to play GUID, which is a nice play as far as leave. Gives him a solid chance to bingo next turn, but as I just mentioned on my rant, that could cost him the game. So Noah's going to quickly whip down Augur, dumping both of his U's. Not a whole lot to deliberate on that play. And to his leave of ACES, he drew the blank. And this is one of those situations where you look down and you're like, the blank was a bit overkill. You would rather draw it separately once you bingo with your natural rack instead of kind of compounding it. So in a way that actually diminishes the value of the blank when you draw it with other good letters. So Sid is going to have some double doubles. He's just looking for them. He only has three actually. He has septical, spectral, or septral. Yeah, he missed Scootage as a non-bingo through the T last turn for 40 on the double-double, yeah. So Noah, this game, he's only made 2 plays, but as you can see, he's only used 30 seconds of his time, and Sid's used 8 minutes, so Noah has the advantage on that front if this game does get close in the end. So we know Sid's going to bingo this turn, but it's a big difference if he double-doubles or not. I mean, that 20-point difference, of course, is, large. So the double-double, if he finds it, one of them, gives him a way better lead, of course. But he's not going to find it. But he is going to make a pretty good other play. And that kind of crushes the board. So he's going to play Scalped, which has its merit, of course. So let's see. See, that's 83. So he's given up 10 points, but it does kind of clog the board. So even if he did see double-doubles, there's still merit to this. But my guess is he didn't see them, because the double-doubles still block pretty decently. So Noah has a lot of different options here that score well. He is down on a board that's going to die if he doesn't do anything about it, but scoring 30 the next few turns is going to be ideal if you can manufacture a way to do that. Sid has drawn a bunch of 1-point letters in the D, so that's good news for Noah. Sid is going to be able to score a bunch of points back, or bingo. So Noah's going to elect to take the route of opening up the triple-triple. He had a lot of options this turn, but this one is going to kind of force Sid to block it or panic, one of the two. And as we can see with Sid's actual rack, it's kind of a shitty spot because you can't really block it. His best plays are like Tool, overlapping the H and the O, just taking points and balancing his rack. For Flash, he could play Zuid from the Z, but I don't really see the point of doing that. He probably wouldn't play Elodia just because it opens up a lane, but maybe. So Sid is going to play Zuid. Or is he? Did he pump fake? Yeah, he did pump fake. That's kind of bizarre. It kind of gave Noah some extra information for no reason, but nonetheless, not a big deal. So Noah has one option this turn. And his option this turn is to hook the Y on Augur and play that. So Noah is on point this game. He is not missing much. So he's going to go ahead and take the points and run. And now he's creeping up, so he still probably needs to bingo at some point, but he's giving himself a fighting chance. So yeah, Sid in that situation again with all 1-pointers in the D. His best option is to play... What does that say? Okay. Kind of a cute play. Sid can play ANILE in the bottom left, forming AA, NU, Gig, and Ulu. But nonetheless, his play is absolutely fine. He just blocks the triple, and that's all there is to it. Noah has good letters, but they don't bingo, so he's kind of confined to fishing this turn, since he doesn't have good scoring options like he has the last few turns. And Sid has just drawn more 1-pointers and junk, so he's kind of stuck in that zone, but definitely the advantage to Sid right now. He's got a 50-point lead on a dying board, so Noah has a few options as far as junky fishes go, so we'll see what he ends up doing. He has no plays that score over 20 points. He could play WAE and AG, which scores something, it opens up a little bit. He has the T hook for way, for TWAE, Tway. So that's an interesting option. So Noah elects to play Iota, leaving the W. All of the plays that burn the W were kind of too vowel heavy for leaves, so I think he might have just wanted to go for some points and balance. So I think that's absolutely fine. It would be nice to get rid of the W, but he's just doing the best he can with this set of letters, so. So Sid's best scoring play is a play that would open up the triple. He could play Donna, forming Na, Nu, and Gag, but I don't think Sid would want to do that even if he sees it, because it's just a bit volatile. So he's just going to play Anna, which blocks pretty well. There are a few front hooks to Anna, but they're going to be hard to bingo with because they have to end in N or M. Noah has Gamma through the G in Grazier's, which scores pretty well. That'll get him within a pretty close range. So it's actually at the point now where Noah doesn't have to bingo to win. But of course, bingoing would be nice, so we'll see if he finds Gamma and or goes with it. Sid has drawn the dreaded Q. So this is a really dreaded situation because there's nowhere to play the Q. on this board, so you're kind of forced to exchange pretty much. So if Noah does play Gamma, he's going to block the one spot to drop the Q. So that could be huge. Actually, well, sorry, that would form a hook for QAT. But nonetheless, it's not ideal because Sid is stuck just dropping the Q for 12 and has to use his whole turn for that. He is going to find... Oh, wait, that's good. Gammer. Yeah, it is. Gammer. That looks funny. I haven't studied much, so forget what I said. There's no place for the Q. So Noah must have just soul read Sid and known that he had the Q and said, you know, I'm going to do that and take some of this. So Sid actually has one option, which he's not going to do. He could play Rondelay to the now formed ET up there, and that would burn every letter on his rack except the Q, but... Oh, okay, he's doing neither. He's challenging Gammer. So it looked funny to me, and it looks funny to him. I wouldn't have challenged, you know, in this situation, because why on earth would you do that? But he did, and he just lost his turn, so... Luckily for Sid, Noah has drawn 2 V's, so I would only see 5 of the letters. If he has an A or an E over there, he's going to be able to dump them both right now in a perfect fashion. And he does have an A, so I think pretty quickly we're going to see him play Viva, which really crushes the board. He could play a Vow in the same spot. So we'll see what he does. I mean, at this point, Noah's like 50-50, so he's not super invested in opening or closing the board necessarily. But Sid is really screwed, as we can see, because he has the Q and he's going to have to exchange. Noah does elect to play a Vow. That scores more than Viva by 7 points, so never mind. I didn't realize there was that many more. And just like that, Noah has taken the lead. So as I mentioned earlier, when you make a mistake in the second turn, everything tends to just go downhill. So in this case, he just kept shooting himself in the foot and then challenging, just kind of not great. So Sid exchanges 2. That's a really odd choice. He elects to keep the O. I just don't really get it. The O is not a good tile, and I don't really see how it benefits him that much for this board. He's going to need a bingo ending in R, hooking the AMI hook now formed, but I don't really think the O helps that much. You're going to need I's and A's if you really want a bingo, but what do I know? I'm a former Scrabble player. Now Noah's in a bit of a tough spot. He can play BAWD in the bottom right, and that's like the only thing that doesn't open up the board. All of his scoring plays are kind of junk. His best scoring play is Wave for 22 in the top right, but that leaves a really juicy S hook with 2 S's unseen. So I don't think Noah's going to want to create that volatility for no reason. I like this play from Noah. It's hard to bingo through the V or the I. Well, the I maybe not as much, but you're limited to the I being in later position in the word. So I think this is the best of the options. You know, you have to score something and deduct what's giving back the least, and I think this gives back not much. So Noah is up 34 points. Sid has a lot of options here. He can play Fink for 32. He can play Kendo in the bottom right, and that looks like the best play because it takes out that juicy spot. But without much thought, he's going to play Fink. And I think Kendo has to be right because it blocks less and it scores more. And Fink, of course, gives Noah just an easy comeback play with the K. Bach leaving PSTT. Yep, nothing else to think about there. So yeah, Fink was a mistake. I mean, instant lead. Getting punished for it as well. And Sid has drawn three consonants. Three vowels. So now that's just kind of a slap in the face. So that early mistake led to another, which led to another, which led to another, and now he's just pretty much dead because this board is dead and both blanks are gone. So he's going to play Heed. That looks like the right play. Quackle pretty much agrees. Noah does have junk, but doesn't have really any options. He can play Bust in the bottom left, which actually is not bad. Actually, yeah, you can't do that because there's a J out, and he could easily play Jibe. There's four I's out. So yeah, you can't do that. He might play PST. No, can't do that either because there's a QI out, and that kind of just is a easy opportunity for someone to dump QI for 35. So this is an interesting dynamic. So both of these players are going to be invested in playing less tiles as these turns go on because if you draw the Q in this game, it is over for the most part. There's no place to play the Q. And once there's less than 7 in the bag, which we're a bit far from now, but of course you can't exchange once there's less than 7 in the bag. Looks like there's a challenge in the other game. Not a challenge. It looks like technical difficulties. But yeah, this game is super interesting. This is a race to not drawing the Q. Quackle's recommended play here is just exchange more or less because, in my opinion, the actual plays you can make are just shit. But the problem with exchanging is, you don't want to exchange like 5 or 6. So I think if I'm Noah, I might just exchange 4 reluctantly, but with 23 unseen, you're not that likely to get the Q, but you're also not that unlikely, so. Noah at least has a chance to survive with the 20-point lead if he draws the cube, but if Sid gets it, I mean, that's just game over for him. So Sid has Nerolis on his rack. Right now his rack is down. He's trying to figure out the clock situation, but Sid is not going to have a place to bingo. So Sid has really good letters, but he's going to have to fish this turn, unfortunately. But he does have life. Yeah, I mean, it sort of opens the board. The U is pretty much not a factor. So yeah, he's floating a T out there, but both blanks are gone, so you're limited to, less combinations. And then, of course, blocking the AMI hook has some value because there's a lot of words that could end in R. But either way, Noah's hands were kind of tied this turn just because his rack was so shit. Sid is in a tough spot. He's at least within a point range where he can survive fishing this turn and not have to be stressed out about still being outrun even if he bingos. But he's gonna have to fish. He can't just like play something that blows up his rack. He has to fish. So with such a limited potential on his board, he's gonna have to really think carefully about what's the best play. And yeah, there's just not any great fishes. He can just drop the O and Val for 11, but what bingos next turn, really? In all honesty, maybe Sid should just change into the gear of I'm just going to play one tile every turn and make sure I don't draw the Q so that I can just win the game by Q sticking him. But now that Noah played Tube, there's two spots for QI, so that kind of changes that dynamic a little bit. And this is why I was talking about him mismanaging his time. That first play of the game, he wasted all that time looking for Aramite or deciding which of those bingos is the best. And now he's almost out of time, and we're not even at the pre-end game. So Sid decides he's going to go for the points. He's going to just burn the Fs because he's determined that the S kind of just doesn't have as much value. There's no place to hook the S, so even though it's a good bingo letter, seeing as the most words start with S, he's kind of in a crucial position here, so he's just going to try to outrun. So Noah, as we can see, has total junk. I don't think he wants to exchange now that the score is so close. So his options are playing PST, which he had as an available option in previous turns in that bottom left. Or he can just play Tux for 10, which, blocks the T and kind of kills bingo chances. And wow. Okay, that's surprising. Noah's going to exchange 5, leaving NS. That's really surprising. Not just that he exchanged, but that he didn't leave like the C or the P or the T. Now he's like maximizing his turnover. And that's unbelievable. So Noah exchanged 5 and drew right into disjoint, but that gets blocked immediately. So Rin EILR. Yeah, I didn't even have time to consider Sid's play. Catching up. Oh, disjoin fits. So not only is disjoint good, but disjoin without the T is good. And Noah has it. Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. So Noah exchanged 5 suboptimally into a pool of complete junk and drew a bingo with the J that happened to end in N in the only spot that you could bingo. Scrabble can be like this sometimes. It's an uncanny game. So, alas, he did draw that Q, and not only did he draw the Q, he drew it with 7 consonants. So, there's a 1 in the bag situation here. I'm going to run this through championship player. So, from Sid's perspective, he knows that Noah has junk, but even if you can Q stick him, it doesn't matter because he doesn't have enough points. Sid can play Exile for 50, but that doesn't do him any good because he'd still be down 28 and it's Noah's turn. And even if he can Q stick him, he wouldn't have enough letters to manufacture the points to come back. But it would be close. But yeah, I ran it through championship player, and there's a 0% chance that Sid can win this game. So looks like, yeah, so he played Ticks, and he's just hoping for the best, but that's not going to work. So Noah's going to win this game. He has won the series 6-2. And that's all she wrote, folks. Now, Mac and Josh are still playing. So we're going to switch over to their series if Josh has won this round. Because if Mac wins this game, it's actually over in that series as well.